You're listening to the micro version of the Savage Lovecast, www.savagelovecast.com.
If you're stuck in a relationship quandary, or if you're looking for sexual harmony, well, there's nothing you can't ask on the Savage Lovecast.
I was planning to open this week's show talking about a Broadway musical, but probably not the one you think. I was going to talk about Assassins, the 1990s Stephen Sondheim musical about the men and women who have assassinated or attempted to assassinate American presidents. Nothing should be read into this. I have listened to and enjoyed Assassins under Democratic and Republican administrations alike because it's a great show. And like I said last week, it's important that we make time, even now, for art and music and pleasure and joy. And for me, listening to musicals as opposed to, say, watching the news right now is a necessary act of self-care. Okay, so yeah, Assassins. It's all about these crazy and mostly white people who feel dispossessed and marginalized, the losers, the suckers, the ones who might have been. And some of the crazy, mostly white people in the show are deranged racists, and they strike back at society by killing the president. And it kind of felt bank shot relevant to this political moment because mostly white suckers and deranged racists have struck back by electing a president. And so I wanted to open today's show by playing a little bit of another national anthem, one of Assassin's best songs.
Listen, listen, listen. There's another national anthem playing, not the one you cheer at the ballpark. Where's my prize? It's the other national anthem saying, if you want to hear, it says bullshit, it says never, it says sorry, loud and clear, it says listen.
By the end of that song, the other national anthem is playing in the ballpark. And it almost works as a metaphor, like I said, for this political moment, but, not quite. Because what Donald Trump is singing, what he has been selling and what he seems to have sold, it isn't some other national anthem. It's our original national anthem. It's our original sin as a nation, and it's been playing in our national ballpark for most of our nation's history. And it says racism, it says sexism, it says xenophobia loud and clear. Another national anthem really hit me earlier this week after I cycled through all my Sondheim musicals and my acts of self-care this week. And like the times we're living in, the song just feels so fucking ominous. And it's a song that inspires deep feelings of dread. But that feeling, dread, it isn't exactly in short supply at this moment. So yeah, on second thought, maybe Assassins isn't the musical we need right now, and another national anthem might not be the song I need to share with you right now. Because what we need right now is inspiration. What we need is courage, and we need examples of courage. We need to be motivated, to take action, to rise up. And that brings me to Mike Pence and the musical you probably thought I was going to talk about at the top of today's show, and you're right. The vice president-elect went to see Hamilton on Friday night. That's the smash hit musical about Alexander Hamilton, an immigrant and one of our nation's founding fathers. As you're probably aware, Pence was loudly booed when he entered the theater. Not by the multicultural, multiracial, straight and queer cast, but by other members of the audience, aka people who had the connections or the cash to get tickets to Hamilton. Donald Trump had spent the week packing his cabinet and White House staff with deranged and infamous racists and anti-Semites. Here's a pro tip for you, Donald. If the KKK and no one else is praising your cabinet picks, you're doing it wrong. Anyway, at the end of the show, after the curtain call, Brandon Victor Dixon, the actor who plays Aaron Burr, stepped forward to address Mike Pence. Dixon asked everyone in the theater to pull out their phones and record the statement he was reading on behalf of the whole cast because the cast wanted to spread far and wide. I wasn't at the show myself, but I am going to pull out my podcast and do what I can to help spread the word far and wide.
Vice President-elect Pence, we welcome you and we truly thank you for joining us here at Hamilton, an American Musical. We really do. We, sir, we are the diverse America who are alarmed and anxious that your new administration will not protect us, our planet, our children, our parents, or defend us and uphold our inalienable rights, sir. But we truly hope that this show has inspired you to uphold our American and to work on behalf of all of us. All of us.
Bravo, fucking vo, cast of Hamilton, bravo. The right is, of course, spinning Dixon's comments as disrespectful, and Donald Trump pulled his tongue out of Vladimir Putin's ass long enough to demand that the cast apologize to Pence, and he called the show overrated to boot. And that's, bullshit on all counts. The show is amazing. Nobody can get a goddamn ticket. And Dixon asked the audience not to boo. He addressed Mike Pence, a rabid anti-gay bigot, in a Broadway theater as Sir, and by his title, Vice President-elect. The cast of Hamilton, Dixon, they weren't rude, and they don't owe Pence or anyone else an apology. If anything, all of us owe the cast of Hamilton our thanks. Because, in the parlance of the show, they didn't throw away their shot, their chance to speak truth to power. And for that, I am, as so many other people are, so grateful. And I gotta say, last week I predicted that American cities, big, diverse, tolerant, queer, brown, forward-looking American cities, that they would lead the resistance to Donald Trump. And as a theater fag, as a musical theater queen, I am so fucking proud that the theater kids fired the first shot, the first loud shot of the resistance. And they fired it from the goddamn gayest place on earth, a Broadway stage. And I'm grateful not just for what they did, but for the example they set. Because you know what? Over the next few years, we are all going to have to take our shots. And to be clear, I am talking about rhetorical shots here, not literal ones. When the chance comes to speak truth to power, when the opportunity to speak out against bigotry, racism, sexism, homophobia, anti-Semitism, transphobia, xenophobia comes our way, as you know it's going to, and when the opportunity to do something about those things comes our way, we all got to be ready to do like those theater kids did last Friday night. We got to be ready to take our shot. Okay, coming up on today's show, lots of your questions. And on the Magnum edition of the show, which you can subscribe to at savagelovecast.com, Google's head of machine intelligence, Blaise Agüera y Arcas, came into the studio, and we had a fascinating conversation about sex robots. We talk about the coming of sex robots, we grapple with the ethical challenges they'll bring, and of course, we talk about Westworld, all on today's show.
Today's episode is brought to you by Blue Apron. Blue Apron delivers all fresh, high-quality ingredients and recipes you need to create delicious home-cooked meals. Get your first 3 meals for free by going to blueapron.com/savage. Today's episode of the Savage Lovecast is brought to you by Wink, the wine club that sends wine directly to your door. Try Wink, get $20 off and complimentary shipping when you go to trywink.com/savage. That's trywinc.com/savage. The Savage Lovecast is sponsored by Headspace, the guided meditation app that will help you focus and reduce stress. Learn more at headspace.com/savage.
Hey, Dan. I am a 20-something married woman and very in love with my husband. Aside from our little problem, we're actually very happy and have a good life together. So I guess my question is this. I have participated in my husband's kink, which is specifically, he's a bit of an exhibitionist and likes to be in risky situations as far as in public and things like that. Which is definitely not my fetish. It's not what gets me going at all, but I've been very willing to kind of experiment and give him what he needs in that realm within reason. However, I recently expressed to my husband my kink, which is more around BDSM, rope play, spanking, possibly paddling, and I was very surprised by his reaction because he was almost a little bit disgusted. Not that he openly said that he was. It was more of a nonverbal communication where he just made it very obvious that it was not his thing, that he was not turned on by it. And so I even went as far as to go out and buy a crop and a rope and hope that maybe that would kind of get him excited and into it, or at least be willing to talk to me about it. And he's been kind of pulling away every single time that I've tried to bring it up. So I guess my question is twofold. One is my husband being selfish by asking me to participate in his kink, but not being willing to do the same for me. And two, I'm wondering if this is maybe even a form of sex shaming, and if there's a larger issue going on here that we need to discuss and be aware of. Like I said, I love my husband. He's a wonderful man, and we have a fantastic life together, so this isn't necessarily the be-all, end-all of our relationship. However, I do feel very disrespected, and I feel like he's being pretty selfish in this situation, and I just don't know how to communicate that to him without it turning into a fight or without him feeling attacked by me.
I wish I could call you back because I would love to ask you, and I can't call you back because you didn't leave a number. Everyone remember, leave a number. Maybe I will call you back and we can have a conversation about your question, because I would love to ask you, if I could call you back, how you reacted the first time your husband rolled out his kink, how you reacted the first time he said that he was into public sex with the risk of getting caught and the adrenaline pumping that creates, and what your initial reaction was. Because you say that's not your thing, but you go there with and for him. I'm wondering if your first reaction was, yay, let's go. I'm going to take my clothes off. Let's get out of this house right now. Let's go find a public place where it's relatively safe and we might not get caught, but we might still get caught. So there's that frisson of danger. Let's do it. If that was your reaction, or if your reaction was, or even no at first, and you had to have extended conversations with your husband about this kink and how to do it safely and how to explore his kink in a way that you could be a part of it and feel a part of it. Or if you were just totally enthused out of the gate. I imagine it was the former. I imagine it was you were hesitant to some extent and you guys had to continue having this conversation. Hopefully your husband, when you were initially hesitant, when he rolled out his kink, if indeed you were, didn't read into your hesitancy sex shaming. Right now you're reading into his hesitancy sex shaming that may or may not be at play. He may or may not be sex shaming you. He may just have to sit with this for a while and think about it for a while and circle back to you. You know, I often say to people when someone says, this is the thing I'm into, if it's not a thing you've ever thought about doing, the sex negativity that pervades our culture and our psyches, consequently, prompts us often to say, ooh, no, yuck, we like pull away from it. And the new, oh, yuck comes out of our mouths, and the person that we're saying it to feels very shamed and shut down without us pausing to think about what it is we've just been asked to do. We just have that, ew, no, yuck reaction when we've been asked to do something that isn't from our own kind of column C list of kinks. That isn't something that turns us on. We have this sort of instinctual recoil. It's not instinctual, it's cultural. We recoil. And often when we recoil from someone in a moment like that, where they're making themselves vulnerable and disclosing their kinks, they can be really wounded by that recoiling. And so I encourage people, don't say no, say, oh. Don't say no. Oh. Because oh extends the conversation. Oh says, tell me more. Oh says, let's keep talking about this. Let's find middle ground. You know, imagine if your husband said he wanted to do public sex in the middle of an intersection at 5:00 in the evening during rush hour, you probably would have said no to that and then negotiated backwards to a place that was public sex with the risk of discovery or being caught, where the risks were much, much lower. It was much less public sex. Maybe the same case here. And I'm giving your husband the benefit of some, perhaps, I want to say grave, that's too grave, but perhaps some moderate to largish doubts where he came out with a no and a disgusted look and some silence instead of an oh. And instead of negotiating with you about your kink, he kind of made you feel shut down to this point where you're not engaging with him about it. You're not bringing it back up, although you did go buy some toys. And that's one way of initiating a conversation, but you need to go the other way, the other route of initiating a conversation, which is to share with him how you are feeling at this moment based on his reaction. You know, I've always been there for you and I've been there for your kink. I've laid out my kink and you're not doing unto me as I have done unto you. I want the kink golden rule to apply in our marriage. And so I want to hear from you what the issue is, whether it's just something you need some more time to contemplate and think about, and you'll get there eventually, just as I got there around public sex, or if it's something you can't do. There are libido killers. There are some kinks that people can't do. Maybe your husband doesn't see himself as someone who could treat a woman in this way that to him reads as abusive on its face. And you guys just need to have a more informed and give and takey kind of conversation about what this kind of cops and robbers with your pants off role play means for you and how it feels for you. And it's not abuse because there is consent. It's just play. So you need to draw him out in a way that empowers him. and in a way that empowers him to say no. Just because you went to his kink doesn't necessarily mean, I don't mean you, caller, I mean all of us, the broad and general you. Just because you go to someone's kink doesn't obligate them to return the favor and go to your kink. You know, if their kink is light bondage or moderately risky public sex and you go there, and your kink is I want to shit in your mouth and fuck a goat, yeah, they're not equivalent, right? They can't just say like, fair is fair. I did your thing. Now you got to do mine. Put on the goat costume and I'm going to shit in your face. You have to still have a negotiation. But the thing you can call him on is the unwillingness to discuss it, because you deserve at least an answer from him about whether this is possible, whether he can do this. And if he can't do this, then you have to have another conversation about whether this is something that you are willing to go without for the rest of your life as the price of admission you're going to pay to be with him, or whether he's willing to pay the price of admission himself and allow you to go to some kink play parties, get tied up by somebody else. And you can have a conversation about whether going to a kink party, getting tied up, maybe spanked by somebody else, whether that could include digital stimulation, mutual masturbation, intercourse, penetration, or not. That maybe you can just get his buy off to go to a kink party. Maybe he'll go to a kink party with you. And you can find somebody else who can do this and would enjoy it and maybe model that for your husband. And your husband can see that it's not sinister or abusive if there is consent. So you need to have some conversations with your husband, not with your sex advice columnist.
Hi, Dan. I'm a 23-year-old gay man living on the West Coast. I have a question for you about ED in young men. I have a frequent casual relationship with a guy who is 20. He had told me before that he has a lower sex drive and can't always hold an erection while fooling around and just gets himself off later. When we are together, he enjoys giving oral and bottoming, and when I have tried reciprocating by blowing him, he starts out hard and goes soft. The only way he can keep it is if I'm not, paying attention or looking at it, and then gets himself off while we're together. I feel like he is getting the cheap side of the deal. How can I help him in some way? I enjoy what we do together, but would also like to give him the same feeling he gives me, rather than him just having to get himself off on his own. This is not the first time I have encountered this with guys around my age. Is this something that is just normal and does happen with younger guys, or is this something abnormal?
Is it normal? No, it's not normal. Is it common enough that you get this question regularly and routinely, and not just from guys in their early 20s, but guys of all ages? Yeah, some guys have problems with anxiety around performance. It's very telling that when you pay attention to his erection, it goes away. And there are workarounds here. You can encourage him to talk to a doctor about erectile dysfunction drugs, which I think often in a case like this really act as a placebo. Like, he begins to believe that his erection isn't going to go away if you pay attention to it because he took this pill, and then it doesn't. It becomes a self-fulfilling cock prophecy or cockaphacy or something. Or you can accept that this is how his dick works and not put pressure on him to perform the way you perform, not put pressure on him to make his dick do what your dick does, and not feel obligated yourself or like a failure yourself if you can't do for him all the things that he's able to do for you, and just roll with how his cock works. Because sometimes just taking the pressure off, relieving someone of the expectations that you have or that they have of their own performance and that you have of their performance, removing that pressure can make it easier for them to perform. If you're not staring at his erection, really staring, or treating him as if there's something wrong and there's a problem and you need to fix it, then he's less likely to have that problem, paradoxically. So you can roll with this. I don't think it's particular to your age cohort, because I literally get this question from people of all ages, men of all ages, and their partners of all ages. I do have 2 recommendations, though, for things you can try for anxiety. Certain strains of pot. Always recommending pot. The medical applications for marijuana are limitless. There's also ye old blindfold. If he is nervous when you regard his penis, removing his ability to know when you are regarding his penis, when you are looking at his penis, just with a simple blindfold that allows you guys to roll around, allows him to do with your dick what he would like to do with your dick, and allows you to glance at his dick without it evaporating. Blindfold is a pretty awesome sex toy and pretty effective when people have that kind of anxiety around being looked at. And you can couple of blindfold with a moderately dark room, and see if that doesn't help. But the most helpful thing I think you can do now and always with a partner in this situation is to not treat the way their dick works like it's some problem that you guys have to solve together so that they can be sexually whole. If he can get himself off regularly and you are there, and part of what's arousing and exciting him is your presence, then you are helping him to get off. You are giving him that orgasm, even if he has to enlist his own right hand in the action as well. We're going to take a quick break from the sex and the smut and the questions and the heartache to discuss the wholesome prospect of cooking meals with and for your family. This Thanksgiving, give Blue Apron a try. Blue Apron's mission is to make incredible home cooking accessible to everyone. Each week, they send us a box with all the ingredients we need to make fresh, delicious meals. Terry is the cook in our family, and he always says he's impressed with the variety and the high quality. And once when Terry was out of town, I managed to do it myself, and I can't make toast without Terry's help. But I was able, following Blue Apron's instructions, to make delicious meals for myself and our kid. Some of the meals available in November include pan-seared chicken with roasted fall vegetables and butter caper sauce, and spicy lotus root and purple carrot stir fry with sweet potato noodles. This is something we've been ordering, actually, more vegetarian meals for me and Terry to get us off the meat a little bit and give the planet a break a couple of times a week at our house by not eating more meat than we should. And Blue Apron has been a big help with that plan for us. Check out this week's menu and get your first 3 meals free with free shipping by going to blueapron.com/savage. You will love how good it feels and tastes to create incredible home cooked meals with Blue Apron. So don't wait. That's blueapron.com/savage. Blue Apron, a better way to cook.
Hi, Dan.
Hi, Dan. Cisgendered male calling from Canada. We have a question about...
And a cisgendered female partner.
Yes.
Also calling.
We want to get better at hard, dirty sex.
Fucking.
Yeah, fucking. We have a really tender, kind of consent-based, slow sexual style.
Which is very pleasurable. Lots of orgasms.
But we really want to get better at hard, dirty sex, and that's proving to be difficult because I have a really hard time as soon as we kind of get into that mode, and we start doing a doggy style or something like that. It really revs me up, and I'll come within a minute. So I'd really like to get a lot better at that. Sometimes it helps if I've been drinking or something like that, but I want some more go-to techniques I can use for being able to really fuck and really go fast and hard and not come so fast. Any help would be great. Thanks very much, Dan. Love your show.
When a guy jacks off, when a guy is fucking, there's that point you reach. Actually, it's called the point of orgasmic inevitability. That point that when you arrive at it, there's no not coming. You're going to come. If you remove the stimulation, if you stop jacking off, the semen's still going to come flying out of your dick or rolling out of your dick. If you stop thrusting or withdraw, you're still going to have that orgasm. The point of orgasmic inevitability. And what you need to do is figure out where that point is for yourself. Now, when you go slow, as you already know, you can delay very effectively your arrival at the point of orgasmic inevitability. When you go fast, you arrive sooner at the point of orgasmic inevitability, at that edge. So edging is a kink where someone will masturbate somebody else. Sometimes the other person is tied up, so they can't touch themselves, they can't finish themselves off, and bring them to the edge, bring them to that point just before the point of orgasmic inevitability, and then remove the stimulation. And it's a form of, orgasm control. It's a form of denial and frustration eroticized, right? And that other person, the person who's edging, the person being edged, who may or may not be tied up, they're trying to figure out where that point is. And it's a lot harder to do that to somebody else, to figure out where their point of orgasmic inevitability is and come just up to it. Much easier to do that to yourself when you're masturbating. And you can do that to yourself. You can edge yourself with your girlfriend when you're rough fucking. It just means, obviously, you can't slam it for a full minute, rough fuck, in and out, bang, 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 because you're going to come. But 4 or 5 slam and thrusts followed by some deep breathing, not moving, leaving your dick where it is, followed by some gentle, and then mixing those two together, the typical gentle style that you You can last longer when you employ scrambled together with the slamming, and that's a pretty great way to fucking get fucked, in my opinion, to mix those two things together. You don't got to be a jackhammer the whole time. You can be a jackhammer intermittently, and by doing so, you will last longer, and by doing so, you will discover, through trial and experimentation, you will discover with rough sex, with hard slamming doggy style, you will learn where your point of orgasmic inevitability rests with that kind of fucking. Just mix them together. With Thanksgiving and the winter holidays upon us, it's time to stock up on wine, or you simply won't make it through. If you aren't sure about what kind of wine to buy in bulk, Wink is the way to go. Wink, spelled W-I-N-C, formerly Club W. They have a new name and an improved look, but it's still the same excellent wine company introducing you to new wines that you will love. Wink works directly with winemakers and growers from all over the world to create delicious wine and deliver it right to your door. Wink's 100% satisfaction guarantee means that if you don't like a bottle they sent you, they will replace it with a bottle you will love, no questions asked. Wink is a personalized wine membership that recommends wine specifically based on the results of their palate profile quiz. You can also rate all of the wine you receive from Wink so they learn about you with every order and constantly personalize the wine they send you. Sign up for Wink right now and gain immediate insider access to the best fine wine from all over the world. Wink also, right now, is offering my listeners $20 off when you go to trywink.com/savage. They'll even cover the shipping. You'll get fine wine personalized to your palate, delivered right to your door. Try Wink and get $20 off and complimentary shipping right now when you go to trywink.com/savage. That's trywinc.com/savage.
Hi, Dan. I'm a 31-year-old female, married to my husband for about 2 years. We seem to keep having the same argument over and over. I like to dress well, to look put together and fashion forward, while my husband thinks anything beyond a t-shirt and jeans is too beyond his comfort zone. Frequently, when we go out, he gets upset that I am, to quote him, so dressed up. He says it makes him uncomfortable to think about the men who will be looking at me, possibly thinking sexual thoughts. He also says that my clothing choice not only draws attention to me, but to him as well because he's with me, and that makes him uncomfortable. Now, I'm not into wearing anything revealing or overtly sexual, in my opinion, but clearly our thresholds for those definitions differ. My husband is otherwise incredibly loving and supportive, even when pushed out of his comfort zone. I'm wondering whether you think that I should try to tone down my look, or if my husband maybe just needs to get over it. I've mentioned to him that I feel like his view comes from a place of insecurity, but he disagrees. I kind of just don't get it. If he were all dressed up and every woman who saw us together wanted to fuck him, I would think that was amazing. So I kind of don't understand where he's coming from. Maybe you could shine some light on that for me too.
I'm going to have to take your word for loving, wonderful, and supportive, because the question that you lay before me, I would reverse engineer that to sexist, controlling, isolating, abusive, monstrous. If he's a wonderful, loving, supportive husband with one peculiar hang-up, then maybe it's worth it to stick around. Maybe it's worth it for you, because really, honestly, what I want to tell you is dump the motherfucker already. This kind of sexist, controlling horseshit on his part, I think, reveals him to be the opposite of everything else you perceive him to be. And that's not fair to him, because maybe he is all those things, those good things. And we are, all of us, masses of contradictions and good qualities and bad qualities. But as bad qualities go, you're dressing like a slut is a pretty bad accusations leveled at wives and girlfriends, that they are somehow betraying boyfriends and husbands by dressing provocatively and welcoming the male gaze that they're going to get anyway, whether they welcome it or not. That's some sexist, controlling horseshit. That usually, when you pull on that thread, the loving, wonderful, supportive sweater, the entire garment unravels and you're left with naked asshole, sexist, shitbag husband or boyfriend. But if you say he's none of those things, if you say he's loving, then you got to reach in and correct this. You have to reprogram him. You have to stand your ground. I want to go out. I want to look nice. That may mean that sometimes I get checked out. You know what? You leave the house. Sometimes you get checked out. It's a fact of leaving the house. People are going to check people out, whatever they're wearing. People who just go out in t-shirts and jeans get checked out. My tits in a t-shirt are still my tits. Guys who like to look at tits, which are straight guys, most of them, are still going to look at my tits in a t-shirt. A t-shirt isn't a force field. T-shirt and jeans aren't a cloak of invisibility. Get the fuck over it. You really have to take a hard line on this. You really have to go to him and say, this is your problem, not my problem. And you need to work on this. And maybe you need to talk to a therapist about this, because this is some controlling crap. And there's actually a body of research out there. Esther Perel writes about it in her book, Mating in Captivity, that indicates that when someone, in a long-term committed relationship, where they begin to take their partners for granted, where the spark is maybe still there, but a lot dimmer, where the passion, maybe it's still there, but it's not as keenly felt. Often what helps people re-experience that passion, that attraction, what relights that spark for a long-term partner is watching their partner talk to someone else, watching other people interact with their partner, seeing their partner through fresh eyes. Because that helps you see the good qualities of your partner, even the good physical qualities of your partner that attracted you in the first place. Can help you stop taking those things for granted. When you see someone else looking at your partner, maybe the way you looked at your partner when you first met your partner. So yeah, you've already married this asshole. Sorry, you've already married this loving, supportive, wonderful guy with this one asshole trait. And you got to stamp that out. You got to stand up for yourself. You did not sign up for burqa. You are not his property. He doesn't get to decide who looks at you or what you wear at all times. You dress not just to please him, you also dress to please yourself. And I honestly think that you should be brutally honest with him. Sometimes I do want other guys to look at me and think I'm sexy. I think that's a healthy thing for a couple to acknowledge. That for other people, a monogamous commitment is a monogamous commitment. You are not going to have sex with other people. You still want to feel desirable. And not just desired by the person who is committed to desiring you for the next 50 fucking years. Because that's desire that you can take for granted. And for a lot of people, feeling desirable, feeling desired by people who are not obligated to desire them, by non-spouses, non-boyfriends, non-girlfriends, non-binary friends, awakens their passion and their lust, not for those other people, but for their partner. It makes them feel like a fully sexual being. It arouses them. And then they take all that arousal home, they pour it into their partner. And I promise you, the other aspect of this is if he's worried about other men looking at you like this when you are dressed in a certain way, he's looking at other women when they are dressed in certain ways with lust in his heart. And he is projecting that dynamic that he must feel guilty about on some level, projecting his shit onto you. That other women dress provocatively, it draws his eyes, it inspires lust in him. He reads intent on their part into it. He feels guilty and conflicted, and then he sees you go out like that and he thinks you're doing the same, or you are arousing in other men the same inappropriate feelings that he sometimes feels for other women. And there's this whole bullshit gendered psychodrama that informs his desire to control you when it comes to your sartorial choices. And that's a whole other issue. And it might help if you went to him and said, it's okay. If you sometimes see women dressed up like I'm sometimes dressed up and you experience lust in your heart for them, I do not feel betrayed by that. That is natural. That's normal. Bring that feeling home. Whatever they awoke in you that day, bring it home and plow that into me as I will do the same. Some guy looks at me lustfully, makes me feel desirable. I will come home and I will pour that erotic energy stirred up in me into our relationship. I will plow that into you. But this should be okay for both of us. You can look at other people and desire them. And other people can look at you and desire you. And I can look at other people and desire them. And they can look at me and desire me. Our monogamous commitment means we do not act on those others' desires. But to take that energy that other people can gift us and give it to each other and allow that to benefit our relationship and make our monogamous commitment stronger, to go out into the world and be charged up and bring that charge home and zap the shit out of each other, that will benefit our relationship. That will make our monogamous commitment stronger. It will not imperil it. policing each other in this way, particularly in this sexist way that you're attempting to police me, that's what endangers our relationship. Not other men looking at me with lust in their hearts. That's not a danger to our relationship. This shit is. And this shit stops now. Most problems start in the mind. Fear, anger, stress, anxiety, sleeplessness, they begin in your head, but they can wreck your life. Meditation can help. And Headspace is meditation made simple. There's a mountain of science out there showing the positive effects of meditation and mindfulness. And the Headspace app provides guided meditations you can use whenever you want, wherever you want, on your phone, computer, or tablet. They have sessions focused on everything from dealing with stress and anxiety to eating healthier, sleeping better, and even being more creative. It's 1% of your day that can change the other 99. So download the Headspace app and train your mind for a happier, healthier life. Learn more at headspace.com/savage. That's headspace.com/savage.
Hey, Dan. I'm a 22-year-old gay male from the United States, currently living in Spain. I'm calling because I'm kind of having a lot of internal conflict right now regarding my career path, and I'm looking for an outside opinion. Right now, I'm working as an English teaching assistant in some elementary schools here in Spain. I really like it. I love working with kids. I love teaching, and I'm kind of thinking when I go back to the U.S., I might want to become a teacher, get my teaching certificate. But I'm having some like obsessive compulsive worried thoughts, and I wanted to run it by an outside source before I make a big life choice. Basically, it comes down to a couple of things. I generally tend to find like little boys cuter than little girls. And that's like weird for me to say and gross to say out loud. But before I go any further, I just want to make it super clear. I'm not attracted to kids. I've never looked at any eroticized images or videos of kids. I've never wanted to. I've never had any erotic dreams about kids or anything. I've never been attracted to kids at all. I have a healthy sex life with adult men. I watch porn featuring exclusively adult men, and I have sex in real life with adult men. The second thing that kind of freaks me out sometimes is like, sometimes I'll see a little boy and I'll be like, oh, like he's going to be really cute when he grows up, which again is really gross. I feel gross saying it, and it's not something that I enjoy. Like I like to think, but it's just this involuntary thought. Such a creepy, gross thing. And this is so yucky, but I tend to like be a little more fond of the little boys that I think are going to be cute when they grow up. I don't treat them any differently, but that's just like my internal feeling. And I feel like such a creeper for saying that. And then the other thing is my attraction tends to be towards younger, like men, older teenage guys, like 18, 19-year-olds, and like Twinkie looking guys. I've never been with anyone underage. I've never pursued anyone underage, but it just all sort of compounds and makes me really like have nervous, worried thoughts. Is that fucked up? Am I fucked up? Is it more immoral of me to be a teacher based on what I've described to you? Am I like lying to myself?
Well, you have the option of teaching in a girls' school, which will prevent you from showing favoritism to good-looking little boys. That said, I don't think you need to do that. And you know, it sounds like you're policing yourself really aggressively for evidence of the lurking pedophile at your core, that you've accepted what a lot of homophobes will tell you about gay men, that gay men are sexually attracted to or interested in children and little prepubescent boys. And because you've detected in yourself this ability to spot an attractive male child and not want to sex that child, but to imagine that child fully grown and an adult, and to tell yourself, wow, that kid is going to be a really attractive adult one day. That's not evidence that you want to now or ever will want to actually sleep with children. And you need to calm the fuck down about that. And I think that this is something that most people do and nobody ever discusses or admits to, that we see attractive children And we think that is going to be a stunning adult one day, right? People move through the world encountering beautiful children. And there's a beauty bias in our culture. We are biased in favor of symmetry and attractiveness and beauty. And so this isn't your bias in favor. So this thing you've detected in yourself, this likelihood to show favoritism to cute kids, that isn't your bias alone. And any teacher, anybody who works with anybody, particularly people who work with children, have to be conscious of and then push back against their own biases so they don't show this kind of favoritism. So you aren't neglecting the children who aren't conventionally attractive or potentially as adults conventionally attractive, and work against that. And you sound so up your own ass that I'm confident that you will work against that, that you will police yourself for this kind of favoritism, that you won't show this kind of favoritism. I actually worry that you may work so hard to not show this kind of favoritism that you wind up disfavoring the cute kids. But you need to chill the fuck out. And indicting yourself because you're attracted to twinkie-ish types who are 18, 19 years old, who are adults of legal age, and the body types that the advertising industry sends down the runway, they send those body types down the runway for a reason. They send kids, high school age, just out of high school, 18, 19 years old, down the runways. At Paris Fashion Week, New York Fashion Week, they don't send the parents of those 18 or 19-year-olds down the runway. They send those barely legals down the runway because that body type is widely and broadly attractive, even though, because we're also paranoid about attractions to children and accusations of pedophilia are flung at people who sleep with adults who look boyish or girlish. We're also paranoid about that label being flung at us, that we pretend that that's not what's actually happening. We pretend that that's not actually kind of a majority taste and a majority preference. Not a unanimous taste, not a unanimous preference. There are people attracted to people of all ages, shapes, sizes, but it's really revealing to look who they send down the runways. When they sell with sex, what are the bodies? What are the go-to bodies? The go-to bodies are not my middle-aged body. The go-to bodies are not the mother of three who nursed. The go-to body is the 18-year-old daughter of that mother of three, just out of high school. So, what should you do? You should stop looking for what there is no evidence of. You should stop policing yourself for evidence of there being some pedophile at your heart. Don't buy into the lie that was told to you about who gay men are just because you can see male beauty. You can see the beauty in adult men, including the adult boyish men that you're attracted to, and you can see the beauty in children and male children. And that doesn't make you a fucking pedophile unless you want to fuck those children, and you don't. As for a teaching career, yeah, keep your mouth shut about this shit. If you're really concerned, if there's more going on than you let on in your call, and I'm not saying that I think that there is, but if you think that there is, discuss this with a therapist or a counselor at great length. Really unpack it. But if there's nothing here besides you can see the beauty in boys and you're attracted to boyish adult men with no desire, no sexual impulses directed at prepubescent underage males, then this is not a problem. Just don't show favoritism. Stop digging around in your psyche, trying to find the pedophile who isn't there. Just make sure that if you do go into teaching, if you're not working at a girls' school, that you're not playing favorites based on looks. And be a little kinder and gentler with yourself.
Hey, Dan. I'm calling in response to episode 525 and the advice you gave that people who are politically divided from their families sort of sit out the holidays this year because it's better to avoid the conflict. My girlfriend is the daughter of Cuban refugees in Miami who voted for Gary Johnson this year, and she was having an impossible time relating to them, both before and after this disastrous election. And so I made a suggestion that really seems to have worked for her. Instead of finding ourselves in difficult conversations or feeling like we need to wage war on our own families, which we're not always primed for, or articulating property when emotions get the best of us, I recommend we do what politicians do when trying to convey a message. Write a little stump speech. When your family notices that you're withdrawn or disappointed or angry and they inquire about it, Have a 60-second message prepared about what's happening that you've thought out specifically so it doesn't push more buttons, but instead makes them reflect or take you more seriously. I find it's best to incorporate a personal story. Well, Mom, I'm upset because my gay friend Steve just got beat up by a homophobic and newly emboldened Trump supporter. I'm upset because the new head of the EPA doesn't believe in global warming, and now I don't want to have kids because the world we're giving them is going to be 2 degrees hotter and with much less drinkable water. Whatever it is that you think will be most effective with your audience. Of course, they'll fire back, accuse us of being dramatic or out of touch, so I'd be prepared with a little follow-up, too. I hope you're right, Mom. I would love to be wrong about all the bad he can do with Supreme Court appointments and foreign policy and deportations and LGBTQ rights. But if he hasn't brought back a ton of manufacturing jobs within the next 4 years, or if the country isn't better off than it is right now, I hope you'll consider talking to me about who might be best for the 4 years after that. Because right now, a lot of us are scared and hurting.
Hi, Dan. Thanks for your rant at the top of your episode today. It's really important that everybody donate and do everything they can to stop Trump. And one thing that listeners can do, I just wanted to suggest, there is a man named Foster Campbell who is running for Senate in Louisiana. He is a Democrat because of an issue with the election, some sort of runoff. The election in Louisiana is not decided until December 10th. So I would encourage all your listeners to go to fostercampbell2016.com and donate or volunteer, even if they live out of the state of Louisiana, to make phone calls, get Democrats out to the polls. It would not give Democrats a majority in the Senate, but it would apparently flip the numbers to such a degree that it could make the Republicans have to work a lot harder to pass their shitty legislation that will fuck us all over. So again, fostercampbell2016.com. Really encourage everyone to donate or volunteer their time if they can't donate money.
Hey, Dan. I'm calling for the woman in episode 525 who's assaulted and is having a hard time dating. I, too, am an assault survivor twice, like you. I think the one thing that Dan left out is that there are all these shoulds and shouldn'ts that belong to him, but one thing that belongs to you that is one of those is that you should not let him hijack the rest of your dating life. You are better than that, and you are stronger than that, and you can't let him have that because he took so much, and he doesn't deserve to take that from you, too. So stay strong, keep fighting the good fight, stay in therapy, but know that you do have the power to take that back from him because it sounds like he's taking quite a bit of it away from you. Take care of yourself.
And we're going to leave it there. We got 2 live shows coming up in Seattle and Portland. The Savage Love Live Christmas Spectacular in Portland at Revolution Hall on December 2nd, and in Seattle at the Neptune Theater on December 4th. We will have music and comedians and sex panels and sex toys and games and fun, and you will want to be there. For tickets to the Portland show, go to portlandmercury.com/savage special. And for tickets to the Seattle show, go to thestranger.com/savage special. 206-302-2064 is the number here at the Savage Lovecast. If you would like to record a question or comment for a future show, give us a buzz. 206-302-2064. Follow me on Twitter at FakeDanSavage. Read my sex advice column, Savage Love, every week in the Chicago Reader and other fine alternative newspapers across the country and the world. The Savage Lovecast is produced every week by Nancy Hartunian and me and the tech-savvy at-risk youth and Nancy. I'll be back at you next week with another installment of the Savage Lovecast. Thanks for time.